Hey guys, chasing up New 80s Revolution down here in the cave for some breaking news. I'll build up the breaking news as I always do. You know that for the folks who have been a part of this channel, you know that the that my childhood was really dominated by one particular toy line, one particular fandom, if you will, before that was even a thing. But you know that I was always the, wrestling guy, the wrestling figure guy. Other toy lines would creep their way into my life, but they would fade and they would be dominated by wrestling figures. And so some big stuff kind of passed me by as a kid. Some really big stuff. The GI Joe figures, for the most part, passed me by as a kid. Transformers certainly passed me by as a kid. And one of the biggest things that passed me by was Star Wars. And in some earlier episodes of the channel, I kind of joke around about how I'd never seen Star Wars, and how and that's 100% truth. That is 110% truth. As a kid, space and fantasy and sci-fi never ever interested me, ever. It was just not a genre that I was into at all. And so I had no interest in it. I had no desire to pay any attention to the Star Wars franchise. Obviously had no interest in the toys. The toys were a little bit before my time, actually a lot before my time. Coming out way earlier than 1984 or 85 when I started collecting wrestling figures. But probably, as a kid, as maybe a 4-year-old or so, I probably should have had some Star Wars figures, I would assume, just because my parents wouldn't know what to buy, and they were the hot thing at the time. I assume maybe I had some as a kid. But anyway, since I didn't care about the Star Wars franchise as a kid, that continued on into adolescence, that continued on into young adulthood, that continued on into middle age, and that continued on until, like now. So what I'm about to tell you is, is going to shock you, is going to blow your mind. But when I tell you that I'd never seen Star Wars, I'd never seen Star Wars. I seen maybe all of New Hope scattered throughout childhood. So I mean at different parts, right? And I never sat down and watched the whole movie as a kid, New Hope. Probably saw the middle at some point. Probably saw the beginning at some point. I remember as a kid seeing the trash compactor scene. That's the one thing that stands out in my mind about New Hope as a kid. And probably saw the end at some point. And maybe saw about a total of 20 minutes of Empire Strikes Back as a kid. As a kid. Never seen Return of the Jedi. Never seen any of it. Well, so here's the breaking news. My boy and I, my 8-year-old and I, on a whim, sat down and watched New Hope a week ago. And he became instantly hooked. Like, instantly hooked. Like, you know, wanted all these books and was watching toy commercials on YouTube, Star Wars toys, and I mean instantly. And I loved to see it. It was me in a small package, and so that pulled me in even more too. So 2 nights ago we watched Empire Strikes Back, and I watched him get even more hooked. And because his brain is so sharp, like in new, and not full like mine is, he's retaining so many characters' names and vehicle names, and he's just talking about them all day. And so I'm pulled even more into this Star Wars thing. And then tonight, we watched Return of the Jedi. And this is the strange part, because this is obviously a movie that has existed for 30 years. No, longer, obviously. 35, 38 years. I don't know. So I'm guessing 99.9% of the population knows what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi. I didn't. I didn't have a clue. I didn't care. I avoided it my whole life. I never read a spoiler. I never read a Star Wars book that tells you what happens at the end. I didn't hear it it was never water cooler chat. I didn't know what happened at the end of Return of the Jedi. And Liam and I just finished it like 20 minutes ago, and he's off to bed, and I had to come down here and tell you guys that the New 80s Revolution has finally found Star Wars, and I am blown away. I guess we're well past the spoiler stage, but Darth Vader turns good. This is not something I ever knew. This is not something I had any clue about. And now, my child and I are head over heels in love with Star Wars. And so you know what that means. Now, we have the whole... I bought the 4K set because I'm nuts. I went out and bought the 4K Star Wars set. And it was bulky and big and pricey. But we now have the 4K Star Wars set. And we haven't started... Clone War. We haven't started the prequels. I have no idea what a Mandalorian is. I have no idea why Baby Yoda is popular. I don't know. But I will know. The final scene of Jedi not the final scene. The final scene is the party, but celebration. After Luke burns Vader's helmet, and looks up and sees Ben and sees Yoda and sees Anakin, I was like jaw dropped to the floor. Remember, I know I'm explaining this, and all of you are like, what is wrong with you? Yeah, we've known that since we were 7. I know, but you have to understand, it was never part of my life at all. That final image of those 3 standing there, just... That's it. That's... Okay, so... with obsessions come what? Comes toys. We've just taken on a huge undertaking in the G.I. Joe figures. But I can assure you this. The New 80s Revolution and Star Wars are coming together. And they will be represented in plastic. That's right. I will be taking on as much of a vintage Star Wars action figure, vehicle, and playset collection that I possibly can. Yeah. Good night now.